Shalom, shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahushai, Waharaka Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And honors to you brothers out there on the highways and the byways teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. Alright, let's get into this, man.
Egypt is mentioned more in the Old Testament than Israel is.
Okay. So, this is where these guys try playing silly games. Alright, so let's break it down now. More times than Israel. That's impossible, first and foremost. Because remember, when you're talking about the name Israel, you have to differentiate when it's talking about the land of Israel and when it's talking about the people of Israel. Because remember, Israel is a people before it was a place. Alright? The name Israel goes back to the name that was given unto our forefather Jacob after he wrestled with an angel. That's where the name Israel comes from. And so his descendants were known as the children of Israel or Israel. When the Israelites came out of Egypt, right, and took the inheritance which was promised unto them and delivered into their hands by the word of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai through Joshua. All right, Joshua was the leader because Moses didn't take the people into the land. Joshua did. And Joshua subdued the land. All right. The people that were living in the land previously were the Canaanites. And it was known as the land of Canaan. It wasn't known as the land of Israel until after we took it to an inheritance. So this idea that Egypt is mentioned more than Israel, whichever way you slice it, is foolishness. Because the land of Israel is more predominantly mentioned in the Torah and the Tanakh, which is the Old Testament, than Egypt. And the people of Israel is obviously mentioned more than the people of Egypt. Now, the reason Egypt is mentioned is because, one, Egypt and the people of Egypt were in the same general region of Israel, because we border Egypt, for one. Abraham went down into Egypt, all right, and then even Jacob and the Israelites went down into Egypt, and we were delivered from Egypt out of captivity, all right. This is basic history, but you see, these guys, they prey on the ignorant under the guise of being prudent. But the statement he's making, not only is it irrelevant, but it has no factual basis just off reading the Bible. All right? Because not every time you see the word Egypt, don't mean that you ain't going to get Israel mentioned the same amount of times. Okay? Because if you take the name Israel to be in reference to that particular landmass, you have to include every time the land of Canaan would have mentioned. And if you take Israel to mention the people of Israel, well, you have to also include every time the people of Israel was mentioned in a different fashion. You get me? You understand where I'm coming from? And then understanding that Egypt is mentioned a lot in the book of Exodus, because the book of Exodus is about the Exodus from Egypt. So no matter which way you slice it, this is an irrelevant statement. Okay?
Egypt is mentioned more in the Old Testament than Israel is.
It's ridiculous.
There would be no Abraham religion without Egypt. I'm top 100% top.
Okay, so now he's saying there ain't no Abrahamic religion. So by that, he's talking about so-called Judaism, so-called Christianity, and so-called Islam. That's what they call the Abrahamic religions, which we don't deal with that, because Islam is not really anything to do with the word of the Most High, and Christianity and Judaism as they exist today is a corruption. So let's break it down. He's basically saying that the word of the Most High, all right, and everything which is in the scriptures is based upon Egypt. It all come out of Egypt, Egyptology, their idols and their belief systems, which is absolute foolishness. Because first and foremost, right, Abraham left the country that he dwelled in, which was over there, right, on the other side in the Chaldees, right, which was more eastern in the Fertile Crescent, to travel over to the land of Canaan, and he also went down into Egypt. All right, now Abraham left where he lived because he believed in the Most High, right, Yahweh, which is the basis and the foundation of our religion. This is before he even went to Egypt. Okay, and we're gonna read it. So this is Abraham's journey to Egypt. Right? Now the Lord had said unto Abraham, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto a land that I will shew thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Yeah? So Abraham was dealing with the Most High before he even went to Egypt, before he even knew where Egypt was. Because he left to go into a land that he had not known. And that land was the land of Canaan. And he followed the way of what is known as the Fertile Crescent, which is up and around, if you look it up on a map, and down into the land of Canaan. And eventually he did go down into Egypt. But how could he have gotten his religion from Egypt when the Most High brought him up out of a far country from Egypt? That's when his relationship with the Most High began, before he ever went to Egypt. And not to mention that our religion is against the ways of the Egyptians and the idols of the Egyptians, which is another reason his statement is asinine. Okay?
There would be no Abraham religion without Egypt.
How? The Most High was dealing with Abraham before he'd ever been to Egypt. This is crazy. In fact, let me get more to the point. Genesis 11 and 31. And Terah took Abraham his son, and Lot the son of Haran his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, and his son Abraham's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan, and they came unto Haran and dwelt there. So Abraham was coming from Ur of the Chaldees, like I told you, which is more easternly, the eastern side of the Fertile Crescent. Now, specifically, the Lord turned Abraham away from the idolatry of that region. Now, when you go into the history, the idolatry of that region does have a relationship with the idolatry of Egypt, because when you really break it down, most of the idols of these different nations are related, meaning they're a version of the same idol. But we never had that relationship. Okay? Our God has never had an affinity with these idols, man. In fact, give me a second. Joshua. Right? Because Abraham's family, they were dealing with the idols of Chaldea. But Abraham forsook that way and took upon him the truth of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua and the faith. Right? That's why we're separate from these nations, because these nations just worship idols. This is just like Egypt. The gods of the other nations are idols. Joshua 24 and 2. And Joshua said unto all the people, thus saith the Lord God of Israel, thus saith the Lord God of Israel, your fathers dwelt on the other side of the flood in old time, even Terah, the father of Abraham and the father of Nachor, and they served other gods. So Abraham's family served the gods of that region, but Abraham didn't. Right? It says, and I took your father Abraham from the other side of the flood and led him throughout all the land of Canaan and multiplied his seed and gave him Isaac. So the Abrahamic religion began with Abraham and his faith in the Most High. And he went away from the way of idolatry and the way of these nations. And like I said, this was before he had ever even been to Egypt. So this guy don't know what he's talking about.
There would be no Abrahamic religion without Egypt. I'm 100% totally convinced that there would be no Abrahamic religion without Egypt, because Egypt is mentioned more in the Old Testament than what it is to the 40.
You gotta give that context. That doesn't mean that our knowledge that the words of the Most High came from Egypt or was sourced from Egypt because Egypt is mentioned in the Bible. That is a huge, that is a massive leap. That don't make no sense, especially when a large proportion of the Torah, right, like the book of Exodus, is about getting out of Egypt and turning away from the idols of Egypt specifically. It's just ridiculous. There's a whole book dedicated and laws dedicated to rejecting the way of Egypt, which I'm going to read. So this is asanine.
2 negative confessions of my
Hold
argument
on.
that there would be no Abrahamic religion without Egypt, because Egypt is mentioned more in the Old Testament than what it is. You can go to the 42 negative confessions of Ma'at. You can find the 10 Commandments.
Let's talk about the 42 negative confessions of Ma'at. Firstly, the 42 negative confessions of Ma'at are not laws of Egypt. The 42 negative confessions of Ma'at is a cheat code, right, to use when you get into the realm of the dead to make it. So you make those confessions, right, negative confessions, but there's never been these negative confessions of Ma'at have never been seen in the judicial law of Egypt, right? Our law is our actual judicial law that we lived and ruled by. That's the difference. Not only that, it's got 613 laws with judgments and sentences. So this guy don't know what he's talking about. Then add to the fact that certain knowledge of certain things like murder and so forth was known before they were recorded in the Torah, because the Most High is a great king over the whole earth, and Noah was in the way with Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And that's what these guys forget. So there's certain things that these other nations might have known. Just like the Sabbath, there's certain things that these other nations knew about, but then they corrupted it. Because when you go back to it, look at the root of this side of the world, it was Noah. And Noah was faithful with the Most High. They don't understand that. Just for the same reason, there are stories of the flood from among all different peoples, a version of it anyway, not the accurate version that we have. Well, obviously there's going to be, because these peoples are the descendants of the people who was there too. So, come on, man. Stop it.
Within those 42 negative confessions.
Right, and they show you the negative confessions like, you know, this is BS. That's got nothing to do with the law of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. You know, I have not withheld nourishment. That's not a law in the Bible. This guy's an idiot, man. This is not the law of the Bible. Okay? Some of them might be similar into what some of the laws say, but then where's the judgments? Oh, okay, the judgments don't exist. The law of the Bible has law, statutes, commandments, and judgments. All right?
The link between Egypt and all of these different Abrahamic religions is there's too much link.
Well, show me the actual link from the idols, the way the idols are worshipped, the stories of the idols. Show me the link. it don't exist. Show me the link. Show me, get the Bible out, read the Bible, right? And show me that. You can't. He can't. Get all of the religious books of Egypt and show us. Nah, everything about the way we operated was the opposite of how the Egyptians operated. And I'm going to prove it.
A lot of people don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I get it.
I'll go down there.
People are stuck with their beliefs. But
no,
if you
we'll
think
go there.
about it, Moses was found where?
In Egypt.
There you go. Moses.
So what does that mean? Just because Moses was found in Egypt. Yeah, and the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushua destroyed Egypt and confounded all the idols of Egypt and delivered us out of Egypt, as was prophesied to our forefather Abraham. And now look at Egypt through.
Was found floating down a river in Egypt, and not only was he found floating down the river into Egypt, but you realize that the rivers of Egypt, it has two Niles, it has a white Nile and a blue Nile. One starts from Ethiopia, the other one starts from Uganda, which means that Moses was floating from either Ethiopia or Uganda into Egypt.
Well, I mean, you see, again, you're making massive leaps because you don't know where exactly he was put into the river. You're just saying the whole length of the river, going at the beginning and saying, yeah, that's where it was. This is what I'm saying. These guys are making huge leaps. He could have been placed into any part of the river which is upstream of where he found. It could have been 100 meters upstream, or it could have been 200 meters upstream. It could have been 100 miles. You don't know that. You're just coming to this conclusion because you want to, so he could have been Ethiopian or what? Shut up, man.
So it was coming from a black part.
Running a small business and me feeling like I couldn't keep...
Okay, so let's dead this whole thing off right here and here. The doings of Egypt, Leviticus, there we go. So, seeing as we got our religion, right? So if you want to use the religion as our form of worship, which the law would be including the laws, statute, commandments, and the rites, rituals, those would all be a part of our high holy days. That would all be, considered our religion, right? Which is mainly found in the Torah, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, all right, Numbers, right? Again, it says Leviticus 18:3, after the doings of the land of Egypt wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do. So hold on, wait. So you're telling me that our religion is from Egypt, but in our religion it says don't do what the Egyptians do. That's crazy. These people are mad people still. These people are mad people. Let me read that again. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do? And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do? Neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. But this guy's saying our ordinances came from Egypt. But in our ordinances, it says don't do what the Egyptians are doing. Yeah, man, I'm done, man. These dudes, man, they're just going to have to feel the fire, man. That's all it comes down to. These dudes are pseudo-intellectuals, faking the funk, acting like they're prudent, but they ain't that prudent. They're trying to be slick. They're trying to think outside the box, but it ain't working. All right? So with that, I'm going to say shalom.